This is TradingAgents. It turns market research into simulated trading decisions by splitting the job across LLM agents that act like a small hedge fund team. Analysts and researchers gather signals, a trader agent turns that into proposals, and a portfolio manager can approve or reject them before orders hit a simulated exchange. That separation matters because the framework makes the handoffs and constraints visible instead of hiding everything in one prompt. This is MiroThinker, and it runs deep web research for hard research and prediction questions. The repo centers on newer 1.7 and H1 models, plus a benchmark suite and quick start flow that suggests the work is about traceable browsing rather than a one-shot answer. What stands out is that it treats research like a multi-step agent loop, where browsing, evidence gathering, and scoring are part of the system instead of something hidden behind the final response. This is NemoClaw, and it gives OpenClaw a safer way to install and run as an always-on assistant. The flow here is pretty direct. Onboard an agent, chat with it, then let OpenShell keep that agent inside NVIDIA's sandboxed runtime while inference is routed through NVIDIA Cloud. The interesting bit is the protection model, because this repo is really about orchestrating those layers around autonomous agent behavior, and it's still clearly alpha. This is opendataloader-pdf. It turns messy PDFs into AI-ready structured output and can also auto-tag them for accessibility work. The useful part is that it keeps layout information with bounding boxes in reading order, so Markdown or JSON still knows what was a heading, paragraph, table, or image. It also splits the workflow by mode with a hybrid path for harder documents and SDKs in Python, Node, and Java for dropping it into existing pipelines. This is unsloth, and it gives you one local web UI for running and training open models like Qwen, DeepSeek, Gemma, and gpt-oss. The point is to avoid juggling separate tools. Studio handles inference and fine-tuning across text, audio, vision, and embeddings on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, while Quick Start gets you in fast with a single install script. There's also a code-based core path and free notebooks when you need to drop below the UI. This is InnoClaw. It gives researchers a self-hosted workspace for grounded chat over their own files, paper study, and actually carrying ideas through to execution. The README frames it less like a single chatbot and more like a research flow, where you pick a path, build specific scientific skills, and then move into multi-agent discussion or an execution workspace that stays structured around papers. This is Get Shit Done, and it gives Claude Code a stricter workflow so long coding sessions don't drift and lose the thread. The system pushes work through discuss, plan, and execute phases, with specs carrying context forward instead of relying on one giant chat. It also bakes in habits like verification, modular prompts, and even skip permissions mode, which tells you it's tuned for people shipping inside the CLI all day. This is JobOps, and it runs a self-hosted job search pipeline that finds listings, scores how well they fit you, tailors your resume, and tracks what happens after you apply. The flow is very literal. Crawl job boards, rank matches with AI, generate a PDF through RxResume, then watch your inbox so application updates don't disappear into email. You still submit every application yourself, which keeps the automation on research, prep, and post-app tracking. This is Newton, and it gives roboticists a physics engine for running large simulations on the GPU. It builds on NVIDIA Warp, replaces the old warp.sim path, and uses Mujoko Warp underneath. So the interesting part is how it keeps the stack programmable while pushing differentiable simulation and OpenUSD support. The examples span pendulums, robots, cloth, sensors, and soft bodies, which makes it clear this is meant for research workflows, not one fixed simulator. This is Arnis. It turns real places into detailed Minecraft worlds, pulling in geography, terrain, and buildings so you can generate anything from your hometown to a huge city. Under the hood, it uses OpenStreetMap plus elevation data, and the point seems to be scale as much as accuracy, since it targets both Java and Bedrock and is built to handle much larger chunks of the real world than a handmade map. This is logocreator. It generates logos from a prompt with style controls using Flux Pro 1.1 through Together AI. The app itself is a Next.js and TypeScript front end with Clerk for sign-in and Upstash Redis for rate limiting, so it's set up like a public tool people can actually use. Right now it exports PNGs, and the future work calls out SVG support, larger image sizes, and a history dashboard for saved generations. This is alt-sendme. It sends files and whole folders directly between devices without uploading them to cloud storage or making you create an account. The interesting part is how much network plumbing it exposes. Peer-to-peer transfer, always-on encryption with QUIC and TLS 1.3, then the messy bits like tickets, blobs, NAT traversal, hole punching, and relays when a direct path doesn't work. This is coze-studio. It gives you one place to build, debug, and deploy AI agents with visual tooling instead of stitching together separate prompt, RAG, plugin, and workflow systems by hand. The setup path is pretty direct, but the interesting part is the stack it tries to unify. Model access, app templates, and agent logic all live in the same environment, so debugging happens closer to the actual workflow you plan to ship. Subscribe to Build Things with AI for more vibe, coding ideas, and news.